This is a very, very special video. We're going to be looking at the inspiration for Eternal Saga, and we're going to be understanding the types of factions that will be coming to Eternal Saga in the future, as well as other very, very interesting information that you probably are not aware of. So please, let's get into First Queen. There are 4 First Queen games. And what is common about all of the First Queen games is that you have this group of 20 and they are against as many other heroes, minions or whatever as possible. And as you can probably already see, you will see literally some of the exact same heroes and factions that are already in Eternal Saga, and that is not by coincidence. That is because the developers are so impressed by First Queen, and they decided to make the game of Eternal Saga based on First Queen. There are 4 First Queen games, and the latest First Queen, is actually a remake of First Queen 1, which only came out a few years ago. So please, if you want, learn about it. It's really interesting. So let's begin with First Queen 1. You start off with the same hero, Alan, however you ever want to say it. It's exactly the same hero, the same protagonist as the one in Eternal Saga. So, and the faction is still Royam. Now, I think it's really nice because at least we can find out where this game is going. The maid is also another person in the game. Next up is Mercedes, who in the game is not actually called Mercedes but Jane, and comes from the Empire faction. Next is Cobbs, who they call Carl, and he is also Royam faction as well. And yeah, you can see the exact similarities between First Queen and Eternal Saga. Now, things are going to start getting more interesting as we come to new types of heroes such as Lotteria, for instance. I don't know the faction of this one, but you're going to find out the factions of other ones soon enough. As you know, the Elf Prince will be from the Elf group. I think Lotteria actually is from the Elf group, but I can't be 100% certain because there is another type of Devil group which those weird candle horns give the indication of. The Amazon group is certainly more interesting in First Queen. You actually have this very interesting unit who from the Amazon group, and that unit is, I don't believe, really in Eternal Saga. There's a centaur on the right hand side, and Guangqiu, and a monk. Now, it's quite important to get to know who these are because we are going to be looking at a monk faction later on. Yes, that's right, a monk faction. And sorry, let me just say, the centaur is also part of a faction. Now, you can see the top left we have magicians, and on the bottom right there are werebeasts. And you can see the game on the gameplay on the top right, and you can see how the werebeasts and how everyone gets on the battlefield. It's great, just like Eternal Saga. Now things are going to get a lot more interesting. Now this faction is big with regard to not Eternal Saga, First Queen 1, and this is called the Kramer faction. We have not seen this faction with regard to Eternal Saga, and this faction kind of like the evil demonic faction, so I would put them as more powerful than the Empire faction. They're going to cause a lot more problems. So this is a faction that we might have to look out for in Eternal Saga. The next faction is actually the zombie faction. They have the skeletons, a bit like the orcs in one respect, zones, whatever they are, And yeah, this zombie faction, I got no idea how they're gonna work, but will they really be coming soon to Eternal Saga? I don't know. Now we have a centaur, or this kind of three-headed lion thingy as a final boss. I'm expecting somehow that might end up coming into Eternal Saga in some shape or form. And the Demon King in the bottom right, again, that one actually is related to the demon faction, so I don't know how that's going to work. Anyway, keep your eyes open. Now this, I can't be 100% sure, but it could be the Ornic faction, I do not know. But again, these guys look like they're really going to kill. Ornics were like the big bad guys in how do I put it, in First Queen 1. And of importance would be, I'd expect the octopus plays a big part in First Queen actually, so I do expect some kind of octopus boss to appear in the future. And also the half fish faction, that's actually quite a big faction in First Queen. That's right, the half fish faction. Next we have the Dragon King. I don't believe we've seen that yet in Eternal Saga. Now dwarfs are the next big faction as well. Dwarfs, yep, that's right. They are quite a powerful bunch. They're very interesting, and they actually the thing with First Queen, you got to understand, is that like every faction has their own like enemy. So the dwarfs actually fight against the gnomes, and that's another faction, the gnome faction. Now I want to quickly talk about the bard in the middle at the top. This bard, I do like it. I do like the buffs it can provide, and I do think it will be very interesting to see some of these same units again appear in Eternal Saga. Now this super meteor strike is quite an amazing move, and it's done by the guy you can see on the right hand side wearing this red cape. I don't know enough about him, however that move is phenomenal. Imagine getting someone to do that. It will be like Sasha 2.0. If you could take a good look at the heroes, more heroes than enemies, the heroes being on the left and more of the enemies being to the right. Have a look, and I'm how to put it. Just be prepared that we're going to get probably the exact same ones in the future. Now let's quickly talk about the upgrades. So First Queen has an upgrade system where a man can become a soldier with a sword, then called a fighter and promoted to a knight. And shooters can become armor shooters. So you could say it's a bit similar to the awakening system in Eternal Saga. However, we might end up getting some class upgrade system in the future. So this is one very important point I want you to keep your eyes open for. Think about it. If you could upgrade your heroes in the future into different directions, what would that mean? What would that mean, and how would you prepare for it? So please remember, this game again is based off of First Queen. Eternal Saga is based off of First Queen. Even the stat increase in Eternal Saga is the same as First Queen's. For example, at level 30, the attack plus 10, except everything going up by plus 10. Level 40, level 50, it's exactly the same style as Eternal Saga. So Eternal Saga does follow the stat increase of First Queen. For instance, if you want to look at the stats here, so this is like from Eternal Saga. If you look at his stat, and then you can see by going up by like double tens, like from level 1 to level 20, you'll see there's a physical attack, for example, of 30, but if we go backwards, we will see a physical attack of 10 for level 1, and again a physical attack of 30 for level 20. So you do have this same kind of increase in Eternal Saga. I want to talk about the other factions now. So other factions, again, I've said the gnome faction. I wrote they get along with the dwarfs, but I think they didn't at the beginning. There's a Birdman faction. I think this is very important to think about. I think we haven't had any flying units, so hopefully we can get that. And again, it's a rare species with a weak position, living in the harmony with the elves. So I don't know where the story is going to go, but I don't think the elves are going to come back for a while. They can be summoned by making an elf an ally and blowing the elves a whistle, whatever that means. There's Clay, and this is a weird person with a weird faction group, and Clay is actually based on the developer of the game, so don't be surprised if Eternal Saga do something weird and put their own developer into the game. Lizard Man faction, now that would be quite interesting. Lizard Man, again, something related to water. Beastmaster, and that's the controller of Werebeasts, so we've already had Werebeasts. Now this is great, the Chibi Dora, the Dragon faction. I would love to see the Dragon faction in Eternal Saga. Now the other factions are like a bit different. They're like different castles, so we've got like Castle of Camelot, Cardiac, and Catherine from Ornick. So it's like following the old English history of castles like King Arthur and Uther and all that kind of stuff. So keep that in mind. Perhaps not only the Empire might be involved, things might get a bit more diverse if they decide to push the story. Now this is one of the most important points. Sorry, I want to ignore that. This is a very, very important point. The elemental spirits. Now I expect at least this year for elemental spirits to be introduced to Eternal Saga, so whereas we get water spirits, wind spirits, earth and fire, and I think this will shake up the game. I don't know how the elements are going to work, but knowing the developers are just going to copy First Queen, so need to think, how will these spirits, how would they work? Would they link with your weapons, or would they link with your heroes? And how do they link with your heroes? And how exactly is it going to work? So you need to think, how could it improve heroes, and how could it like make them worse or something? So you need to think, what will happen when these elemental spirits come out, and how will it affect you and your gameplay? Now First Queen 2 hasn't been made as a remake yet, but again the dragons are involved, and yeah, there are very different bosses involved, and again Ornick I think plays a big part in First Queen 2. First Queen 3 is pretty weird by the looks of it. The elephants and some very weird drawings in this one, but definitely an interesting game to play. But the big one is First Queen 4, because this one is the one that pushed the developer to make Eternal Saga. This is the first Queen, most likely, that the developer of Eternal Saga played. So this had a huge impact. So the enemies that we're going to be looking at include the Lion Beast boss, fire monsters and golems. As you can see, we'll have griffins, wyverns, however you want to say it. So I'm expecting those, and I love how the electrocution involved in the game. It's so cool. Those sprites. The frog soldiers. I do like First Queen 4, and I do like the remake of 1. So I do think this is great. And in the future we might really have like a necromancer and a king come into the game to play a big role in the future of the story. Another interesting point about all the First Queens are the maps. You can see the map of Eternal Saga in the bottom right, and you can see the map of First Queen 4, and if you look very, very carefully, you might be able to see that there are some similarities in the maps of both Eternal Saga between the bottom and the top. Yeah, and how even the rivers are drawn out and where everything is positioned. However, this is the full map of First Queen. Now, one extra area or part in First Queen 4 is sometimes there's some kind of tower defense where you're defending your village. So that tells me it's quite similar to the Infinity Wars. So if you remember the Infinity Wars in terms of Eternal Saga, I feel that that's kind of what they're following there. And I'm surprised we haven't seen Ippotane. We haven't seen this kind of character yet in Eternal Saga. I'm looking forward to seeing where this boss will come in. And I'm also expecting, will it be that we're going to have any big bosses in the actual quest modes? where everyone has to fight together. I'm thinking that will also come in. Now, I think we know Vulcanus very well. We know that from the World Raid, and again, Vulcanus is from First Queen 4. There is a blue dragon though that we haven't got as yet. Next up are the soldiers and the enemies of First Queen 4. Very, very interesting enemies, nice sprites, and I'm thinking, yeah, we might get some eyeballs at the bottom running around in the future. But what I really like are like Pegasus Knights. I really like these flying type like soldiers, and I'm really looking forward to those factions coming about in the future. Again, Flying Knights and the Dark Cavalry. I think the room for new factions are pretty huge when we think of it. And take a look at the pirate skeleton factions. I mean, the pirate faction is really cool. It's not just a soldier, it really is a faction. And I can't be sure about the next one, but it could be a kind of wizard magician faction. I don't know exactly how the dark wizards work, but the golem soldier again could be part of the skeleton faction. But how are we going to see this come up in Eternal Saga? I don't know, but looking forward to seeing it. Now, I want to talk about the jellyfish faction. So we got the orcs, which are called the goblins, but we have jellyfish faction, and I have a big feeling we might be seeing that. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of water in the future. So in the next map after the werebeasts, I think we might be hitting some kind of water area or some kind of flying area. Now, yeah, this boss is so weird, and I really do expect this boss, it like looks so stupid. So I think this kind of weird giant who has no idea where he's going, I do think we might be seeing that in Eternal Saga at one point. And again, expect this boss. Now, he's a weird boss, and this boss is related to, yeah, water elemental damage. Now, in the future, I guess we might be getting elemental bosses. So again, think about how will that impact your groups. I want to add this as something extra. There is a special First Queen 5, but it's not First Queen like you know it. It's more of a 3D like version, a very different version, but I'm just throwing it out there just so you know that there was another one that came out. Now, in terms of what to expect, factions: Dwarf faction, Kramer faction, Zombie faction. I think Kramer faction will be amazing. Faction heroes, I really want to see harp users. That would be amazing. Soldiers, monks, centaurs, and alligators. I mean, alligators will be weird. Imagine having some of those. I think we might be more likely to be against them. Heroes, yeah, Cobbs, the panda skin. I expect maybe in the future we will get a second skin for Cobbs. And I do expect, again, improved class upgrades. Now, I think the upgrades of classes, I think soldiers will continue to play more important roles. So, and that's something just so amazing about Eternal Saga. Now, more factions I want to talk about. Again, Dwarf and Gnome faction. And I've tried to put them together in terms of like the types of factions they are. So these are the real factions from all the First Queens. We have dragon, flying, birdman, harpy factions. So different types of factions. I don't know which one we'll see, but I don't think we'll be seeing all 4 of those flying factions. Now, the Kramer and the Ornic faction, they're both kind of like the evils against the protagonists. So who knows where that's going to go. But yeah, more powerful than the Empire and even Camelot. So I think that might come much later on, but it will really upgrade the story. The Monk faction. Now, yeah, some priest kung fu monk group. Monk factions, I mean, it will be cool. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. What Alus is going to probably meditate and remember his mind from the monks, probably. Who knows? Demon faction. Now, I think demons and Kramer and Ornic are quite together, but a demon faction would be nice. Centaur faction, Golem faction. I mean, you can see that the Golem faction would definitely be able I mean, their defense would be crazy. So what would that mean? Would that make certain, like, would that completely kill off the archer groups because they wouldn't be able to hit them? Now the half fish faction. Now, I wonder how that's going to work. I wonder what that's going to be. I'm quite interested in seeing that. Heroes and soldiers I want to talk about. Yeah, again, harp users. I really want to see that. Anyway, so new game additions. Again, elements of the elemental damage. I do think at one point we're going to get terrain changes. I think when your soldiers are walking on land or walking in water, I think there might, if they can upgrade the game enough, I think we will get changes in the game on how people are walking. I mean, they're already experimenting with these changes in the arena, if you've already seen. So I think they're already preparing for terrain changes in, and they're going to introduce it to many areas in the future. So, for example, the half water units will be better in the water and they'll be able to do more damage. So you might have to use different factions. I do believe there's going to be more room for new factions to be used. More hero development will come. I'm sure there will be in some ways, and again, more silly things. Now, that's the end, and I'll leave a bit of First Queen with you, and thank you very much. Let's hope Eternal Saga moves in the way that makes you happy. All the best, Club Wisdom 8.